You are listening to the Glamourus podcast. Thank you for joining us today. This is a space for the refined, cultured, and connected Black American woman. So let's get into it. Oprah, we didn't ask for another color purple. When I first seen that this movie was coming out, I just instantly knew that there is no way that I'm going to go see this movie. Having seen the movie as a kid and then later in adulthood, the movie just never really quite gave off empowerment. I think it was a good storyline and it was definitely well done, the original that is, but we just didn't ask for another color purple. And I don't really believe that we need another color purple. So today I'm going to be discussing why I am not going to go see the color purple from my point of view as a Black American millennial woman. The first reason why I'm not going to go see this movie is because of the tone deaf timing. We are in the middle of a fake gender war that is being instigated by all sorts of people. And so this is not the time for one of these movies with a narrative that the Black man is oppressing Black women and our only true salvation is the gynocracy in homosexuality. Like, we are all just right now trying to get our narrative together based on our tradition. So this movie is just not it. It's just the timing is all bad. Right now, especially amongst the millennials, we are really going back to social traditional social values. We are promoting what today is called the nuclear family, I think is what they're calling it. And so something that is promoting, that we're being abused is just the timing is all wrong. And I don't even think that the timing for this movie was ever necessarily right because when the movie premiered, you had all sorts of groups that were protesting and calls for boycotts of the movie. This came out in the middle of, the crack epidemic that was ravishing through the Black community. This was kind of at I guess, the preempt of, or really, maybe at the beginning of what you would call mass incarceration. We can debate on when mass incarceration really started, but there was a lot of things happening with the Black men. In this movie being a period piece happening, I want to say this movie is based in the early 1900s. And so for it to come through and give these old narratives, people in the 80s, when people were trying to be upwardly mobile, you had a generation who were integrating a lot of things. And this was just not a good image for the Black family at all. And then we have to talk about the writer of the book, Alice Walker, who is kind of somewhat divested from the Black community. I believe she's married to like a Jewish man. And so I think she has her own issues with Black men in general, but the movie never came out at a good time. I do think the movie was well done as far as cinematography, but that was due to, I think Spielberg produced it, another Jewish man. So, just the timing of the movie. I don't think this movie will probably ever have good timing, but it's really bad timing right now. I think everything that Black Americans are facing right now, it's just a no. And also, another piece is that Black women are really trying to get out of this, or really fighting this image that we are these masculine, manlets, fighting everything. People are trying to rest in their femininity, hence this femininity movement that has been going on, I would say, at least, gosh, now for the past 5 years. So, this thing of, and a part of the femininity movement is not to be feminine for other women, not to become, what they used to call them, what do they call them? Lipstick lesbians. No, you're trying to be feminine in your femininity to attract a masculine man. So those are themes that are actually happening within the Black American community. You have men who are, really trying to see what they can do to improve their situations and that we can come together. I would say one thing that's happened in the era of woke and wokeness is that we realize that we actually don't hate each other. And a lot of our issues have to do with economics. And we also have a lot of outside influences who are instigators. And so movies like this, we're really becoming more conscious about what we're consuming. So I would just say the tone deaf timing. Now, the next issue that I'm having is that the actresses in this film are actually black celebrity wives. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't really go and look at all of it, but two people I did see starring in the film was Fantasia and Tamala Mann. Now, I have an issue with this because Fantasia in real life has a whole platform with her husband, and they present themselves to the public always working together or side by side as a couple. You don't really see Fantasia, except for when she's doing her music, outside of her husband. And she's actually come under scrutiny for some of the content that she's had as far as black women talking too much and how to deal with a man. And she's right there with her husband. And films, movies, and what we see, they do have an influence on us. Just getting a visual idea of something that we ourselves did not conceive from our imagination influences us. We now have a narrative that we didn't have in our psyche and in our mind. And in the early days of film, people, and really all storytellings, there used to be a moral of the story. And even if now it's not like morals of, ethics and benevolence to teach us something good to do better, there still is an intention, emotions that you wish to create with the creation of certain films. And so at the same time, Fantasia has a whole narrative that she's promoting about this family, in a sense trying to combat the narratives of what black family look like. But then at the same time, you're promoting this dysfunction in this movie, The Color Purple. And it's all very interesting. And at one point, sure, she'll receive financial compensation, but is this also somewhat hurting what she's trying to build? When you have flocks of people from various groups seeing this depiction of a family, of or the black woman's experience and of the black community, and here you are in real life trying to combat negative stereotypes, but yet you're starring in a movie that is promoting negative stereotypes. So that is something interesting. The other person I seen in this movie was Tamala Mann. Now, this movie is really one of the ultimate black men ain't you know what movies. And Tamala Mann to be participating in this film is very odd because her career was actually launched by two black men. Kirk Franklin, when she was with Kirk Franklin in The Family, and then her acting roles with Tyler Perry, who was also a black man. And so it's all very interesting that she would be participating in this type of film. She also, in real life, has worked with her husband to build an entertainment legacy. Like they act side by side together. She's not an independent, quote unquote, black woman who other black women are making, her life better and giving her opportunities, which is what this movie is really all about, the gynocracy. And I'll get into that later. And I'm also noticing that this is just an ongoing theme in real life with, I guess you can call them celebrities or famous people, especially black women, who are married in real life, but they promote feminism and this I don't need a manism, and oh my gosh, black men are the real white supremacist isms, and oh my gosh, women, we need to come together. The sisterhood and the gynocracy will save us. It's just always interesting that these women are always married and they're next to men who actually can provide. They may not make as much as them, but they do provide and add value. And it's always interesting that these people a lot of times had fathers. Oprah Winfrey, people like Oprah Winfrey, her father was really a stable force in her life. And so I always find it interesting that these people who are benefiting from a masculine or just a male influence, but want to tell other people, you don't need these black men are harming us, we're going to come together, but they're not really about that in real life. So I'm not really here for that. So that's another reason why it was a hard no for me. I'm just really tired of these people feeding us poison while they are living in a different type of lifestyle that is sustaining them. The next issue that I'm having, and that was a definite no, was this promotion of homosexuality and this whole thing of the gynocracy ruling and will save us. One thing I've always seen, commentary from years ago on Alice Walker, and what she was saying about when she wrote the book, people were like, well, why did Celie have to be a lesbian? And Alice Walker said, well, who was going to love her? Who was going to love someone like Celie? And so she said for her, Suge was the only natural, or not natural, but the only person who could love her. And to me, it's like, okay, there's love and then there's like a sexual attraction. Those are two different things. Like, why did a romantic love have to happen instead of like a sisterhood thing? And so this is that narrative that once again, oh my gosh, black men don't really want us, so maybe we need to just turn to each other. And this has always been a theme in feminism, especially when you look at feminism in the 70s, why it attracted a lot of lesbians, because people who feel like they were rejected from black men, it's like, okay, well, we'll turn to each other and save ourselves. And so, Alice Walker was definitely a person who supported that type of narrative. And so in 2023, she also was stating that she is very glad that the blatant homosexual relationship between Celie and Suge was displayed proudly, that, she had to have it more, just the peck the first time. And she said in this movie that it will be well known and understood. There's no question that they are in a homosexual relationship, which makes me go back into another reason with the stars playing it. Not that I follow Fantasia, but I have seen her over the years with her husband, and I always say they just look like they are complementing each other. And I like that they talk to the black community and they have these talks amongst each other. And so I don't want to see Fantasia in a homosexual lesbian relationship with Taraji. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see her like that. I don't. I like the brand or whatever she's building offline. I don't even want to see that for her. So it was a no for me. Now, the next thing that is a real conversation that is happening in Black America, which was another reason why I'm just not going to be able to do it with the Color Purple reboot, is that you have these non-American Negroes cosplaying Black Americans. Now, we've been seeing this in Hollywood with a lot of foreigners, of Caribbean descent, Sub-Saharan African descent, Afro-Hispanic descent, playing characters from Black America. And this is a whole nother conversation for another day, but I'm not here for it, especially with a classic, for the color purple. And all of my issues with the color purple, yes, I have my issues with the color purple, but it still is a classic, for better or worse. There is not only nuance, but there is things on a cellular level transfer from generation to generation in our DNA when we talk about the American Negro experience, which is unique and unlike any other. And so just because you're brown with coily hair does not mean that you can give our characters in our, narrative justice. There's a lot of nuance, subtleties about how we live this life. Another person I seen was the artist Her or her. She is the daughter of a Filipino, and I don't know why she's in this film. I've seen her. She's from the Bay Area. I want to say she's from out of Vallejo, which is a place where a lot of Filipinos live, and she talks about her Filipino lineage. And so, just because you have a black father, which I don't even know if he's black. He could be Caribbean for all I know. I don't know. I have to go. If I cared, I would take a peek, but it doesn't matter. Her mother is a Filipino, so you're not an American Negro. Filipino women do not birth American Negroes. And so, why is she in this film? You're not in this film. And being from the Bay Area, I know there is a very strong Filipino presence. They primarily are, well, they used to be in South San Francisco, but now they're actually kind of posted up in like the Hercules area and Vallejo. They are primarily in the Hercules area or Vallejo. And they have a strong presence and they are a united community. And just because you have a black father, and let me just give you a little inside tea on the black male concubines of California. They've been out here procreating with a lot of foreigners, and then they just leave the children amongst the foreign mothers. And these children, a lot of times, just by default, they might run into a black person. Well, not even now, it's not even that many black people left, but they pretty much are raised in the communities of their foreign mothers. Now, because their fathers are black, and there's a lot of anti-black racism in a lot of these foreign communities, especially like within the Filipino community, they get sometimes not mistreated as a full Filipino, but they still are immersed in the culture and things like that. And I have seen her, I haven't seen her. That means I want to say she was at an award show receiving an award, and she shouted out the Filipino community as if the Filipino community really fools with her like that. Like the Filipinos out here, once they have the numbers. Now, back in the day, they wasn't that bad, but now they have the numbers. Their anti-black racism is just very prominent. So I say all that to say there's this idea that just because you have a black father, that somehow you are in solidarity and you kicking it with all the black people. A lot of times it's not because they wanted to kick it with the black people, it's because the black people are the only people who would take you in. And not only do we take a lot of half black people in, but we give them a first class seat in our society, as opposed to when they're with their mother's people, they are somewhat treated as an outcast, and that anti-black racism definitely, they experience that, but that's not to say that they just love black people. And so, yeah, I don't know why she's in the movie. If she grew up in Vallejo, that has a very strong presence. They have such a strong presence in Vallejo. They have their own chain of foods called Jollibee. It's like a Filipino take on American cuisine. It's all very interesting. So I just want to say that being from the Bay Area, do not be surprised. Do not be deceived with these half black people. They have a lot of times the same anti-black sentiments that their mothers do and their fathers do, because you have to think about it. A lot of these black men who date these foreign people have elevated the foreign non-black person that they're with is better than black people, which is why they want to breed out. And so the offspring of this union typically inherits a lot of these sentiments when they hear their fathers talk bad about black people and how you're so pretty because you're not this, that, and the other. So, and not that her is like that. Like I said, I'm not that familiar with her. Once I seen her artistry, which really is like Lauryn Hill swagger jacking in low key karaoke. Vocally, I wasn't that impressed. I think she plays the guitar. I like the guitar, but she really wasn't adding anything new to the table. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't want her in our movie either. She can't be there. And so this whole thing with having these non-black Americans cosplaying us, in this let's include everybody from the quote unquote diaspora, which I'm not in no diaspora, but that's a whole nother conversation. Inclusion is erasure. The more you include other people in your narrative, the more your narrative gets erased because you're going to include other people. And so this thing, that was a no for me. Like, I don't want to see a bunch of fake black people playing black people. I just, no. And so, I just want to bring this to a close. This movie actually, well, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that it ranked as one of the top 10 openings on Christmas Day, as far as the money that it brought in. So, did somebody actually go see this movie? Did you go see this movie? Are you going to go see this movie? If you are going to go see this movie, why are you going to see this movie? And so I'm not sure, I remember when we were talking about, or the black community, or the black internets, the black internet sphere was like, we're boycotting the Woman King because it had, once again, this gynocracy and these strong masculine female leads. And also it was elevating, slave traders. Like, that was crazy. And so people were boycotting this, and all of a sudden it was doing bigger numbers. And then we started to see certain celebrities. I want to say it was, I don't know if it was it? I want to say it was SZA, whatever her name is, SZA, or it was Janelle Monáe. It was one of those two, buying out whole movie theaters so that people can go see this movie. And if it wasn't SZA or Janelle Monáe, my apologies. But somebody on Twitter said that. And so I'm wondering, were they buying out theaters for this, or did people see it? Now, I actually am more inclined to think that people may have actually saw it because they like Tamala Mann, they like Fantasia, and they like Taraji. And so I'm not really sure. So let me know in the comments section. Did you go see this movie? If you saw it, did you like it? And what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? If you two are like, it's a hard and a hell no for me, it's going to be a no. I don't want to see that. Let me know about that too. And I will get with you in the next one.